Well, hello, friends. Hope you're having a fratastic Friday or fratastic whatever day of the week it is. I'm Josh Knox here, sitting in my fraterniture, about to do a demo on the Excel add-in. I got some comments on my backwards hat earlier today, so I'm a bit salty about that, maybe. Anyways, fratutations. Today, we're going to look at the Excel add-in, and we're going to look at how we can use formulas inside the Excel add-in. So as a starting point, right, I'm here at the All Projects table, and we can open the Excel add-in as we do, clicking on the Open in Office button and clicking the projects. I'm going to download that. That'll give us our project stuff. So I've got my Excel template here. Remember, we are connected through the data entity. That's how we're authenticated. And so thinking of some reporting ideas that we might want related to our header data. So imagine, right, we're setting up projects. Projects have a projected start date. And we want to understand how many concurrent projects are starting on a given start date, right? Obviously, you could do a pivot table. You could group data. So we could even think about that. That one way that we might do this in just without the Excel designer at all is let me ungroup this. We will say, where's my ungroupy button? Right now we are grouped on project stage. So I can ungroup there. Yeah, clear that out of the way. And right, projected date. There's another field on the project table. We can just bring that in here to the list page. Projected. Right, we got a projected start date. Oh. And we could group on this field. That's one way that we could go about this. Right? The nice thing about grouping here is you can group on the day or the month or the year. So let's say we grouped on month. Right, you can then see the groupings. One thing about doing this type of grouping that I think is still lacking is it would be nice to sort of to be able to collapse all of these at once. I'm not sure if there's a way to do that yet. I'm sure it will come in the future at some point. But anyways, maybe we want to understand the upcoming projected start dates for some projects so that we can then monitor that. Let's say in a given week we only want to start X number of projects, and so we want to space those out. And so if we have too many projected for the same date, maybe we want to shuffle some stuff around, work with customers to fulfill that better. So that's a thing we could do. You could do that here and sort of manage that in the list page. You could use filters to sort of pull just some number of projects based on what you were looking for. But one way you might do it is just to get all of your projects, and then we could use a simple count if to say just how many other projects have the same date. So we'll say, right, concurrent start date. I'm just adding a field to my table, right? We've just brought in the data, and I'm going to say, right, how many of them also start on January 1st, 2016, right? Easy enough. Count if, right, the value in this column matches this field's value. Right, so there we go. Now using this Excel formula, right, we know that this is one project of many, and we know that there are 5 other projects that sort of share this date. Right, we could sort this largest to smallest to understand which days are our heaviest, etc. You could do something like this. The thing though is that let's say I wanted to use this as a regular report. So I've done this change and that's great. And then tomorrow we have more projects, but this list that I exported, right? I have to add this formula every time to this list, right? So when we refresh our data, all the values in my, the field here remains, but I have to sort of redo that calculation equals count. Count if. sort of proving my point here. Sometimes it's easy to forget these things. Count if values in this range. And now I've brought that lookup back. So what you can do though is you can actually build these lookup formulas, these reference formulas, into the structure of the data that you're trying to bring back. So how do you do that? Great question. Just go into our designer. Let's edit what we're doing. And maybe this is a field you've seen before, but just not known how it works. So there is a formula field. So let's first just come back to where we were, refresh that data. So let's go into the designer. We can use that formula field. And so in that formula field, you give that header a label. So let me just show you what that looks like. We'll say example, right, equals test. Example, and then it returns this formula equals test. Of course, the formula you might want is the formula that we used before, equals, right, something more complex, equals count if, find your range, find your criteria, right, and that, oh, I'm doing this on the end date instead of the beginning date. That's a potential issue, right, as you work through this stuff, getting your stuff right. Now I've broken it, so that's good too. Let's try it again. Count if, oh, because I wanted the other one, right? I want count if this range matches this value, right? And that looks like the numbers that we had before. I show this because my preference, if you're building a formula like this, is to just build it into your data. Right, so you get a live result of what your data should be. Make sure we didn't write the formula wrong, and then Control C, Control V, get your value in here. Right, we can rename this, right, concurrent projected start date. Update that. See, so that's nice. And now, right, if something changes, let's say we go in here into our actual project data. Let me remove all these filters, all these groupings that I did, right? Let's find, I guess I'm sort of cheating and dealing with a closed project, but right, number one was at the top of our list, just so we can see the change. Edit, right? Let's imagine we push the start date of this out a month. To, I don't know, we'll say the 2nd of the 16th. We save that record. So now you can see, right, we updated the projected start date here. So we should watch that change as we refresh our data. Right, that projected start date change, and our calculated field that was using that formula has also changed. So that's pretty cool in my book. Now your formulas don't have to be limited to just what's already in your table. So imagine I had a secondary table, right? These are our super special priority projects. And this is data that's not kept in Dynamics for some reason. You can point all the fingers you want, but we have some sort of an off-book listing of projects with some very special priorities. We can even use our formula, right? And obviously they're here, and so let's say I wanted to check in on project 68 here, right? We could sort of do our filtering and find that and get whatever data we needed related to that. But let's say we wanted the projected start, we want a report of these projects and their priorities and their projected start dates, something like that. We could add that in using a formula as well, right? If we think about just normal Excel stuff, right? An accountant's favorite tool, a VLOOKUP, might be what we would use. And so we could say project priority, and we would say VLOOKUP, right? Give me the lookup value, that's the project. Give me the table array. Right? Take that table, which I haven't named anything. It might be better to name it. That would be fine. Right? What are we indexing on? We'll say the priority. Range lookup. We'll say I want an exact match. Of course, your formulas might be more complicated. Right? Obviously, that returns this nasty right, no match record for most things, and then we get the match record. So one way to make that look nicer, right, is wrap this whole thing up in an if error. So, right, if there's an error, I want you to give me the value. If there's no error, just leave the field blank, right? Oh, so much prettier, right? It just makes people's, you can feel everyone's blood pressure going down. But now I have a sorting of sort of those pairs of data together, which is nice, except let me copy this, right? Because as soon as we refresh our data, this is going to go away because I haven't done this formula as part of my designer. I've only done this formula sort of on the table as it exists right now. So if I try to refresh, the first thing it's going to say is, you can't refresh, you're filtering on something. We want to look at everything. You want everything to be exposed before you try and refresh your data. Make sure you're refreshing what you think you're refreshing. So we refresh, and you can see that, right, all my data and my formula have been wiped out because they're not part of the design. But we can very easily, right, we have one formula here for our concurrent projected start dates. Let me add another. We will call this project priorities, right? And put in that VLOOKUP formula that we built. Update this, say yes, refresh, and then we can return just the values that we're looking for. Right, obviously your formulas can get more and more complex. Your lookup values can look up lots of things. There's definitely some best practices around, whether you want to label tables or how you want to deal with expanding values or lists here, and make sure that as you add items here, you're not breaking other parts of your set. But those are all just sort of details that you can work out. I think that the key idea here is that I can have a refreshable report that includes more than just what is in my table. I can use the values in my table to derive other calculated values and present that in my report. Right? Again, this is OData. It's probably a good reporting tool for header values. I don't know if it's the best reporting tool for transactional values or as we get very, very large amounts of data. But I think it's a really useful tool and another way that you can work with the Excel add-in to enhance the value of the reporting that you can get out of Dynamics 365 for finance and operations. All right, that's it for today. Let me know in the comments if there's anything that was helpful or you just have any questions that I could help you with beyond this. Take care. Bye.